Welcome to another resource for living life with wisdom, purpose, and faith. Brought to you by Shepherd's Heart Ministries. Shepherd's Heart is a 501c3 evangelical nonprofit located in Bozeman, Montana. Join us for one of our many events in the Gallatin Valley as we seek the lost, strengthen the found, and together shine more brightly for Jesus. And now, on to today's resource.
So I was talking to my son-in-law, Ryan, back in the springtime. He was on a business trip. And come on up, Ryan. And Adam, why don't you come on up and we'll get this started. But he was just telling me how he met Adam, and there was just kind of a common bond. And of course, hunting is always a common bond. But then it was beyond that. It was about what God was doing in their lives and a reference to events like this. So I'll let you kind of tell how that happened and how you connected. Right?
Hi guys, I'm Ryan Rickert. As you guys know, this is Adam. It was last fall. We were at actually the thanks for the intro goes to Ty's wife Tara Bradford. We're at a fundraiser for deliverfund.org. If you guys haven't heard, that's a really neat organization that's working on dismantling, disrupting human trafficking here in the U.S. And so we were down in St. Louis, and we had a couple things in common. We like craft beer, and we like to hunt, and we love the Lord. So it was an interesting space because it was a very fancy event, and Adam and I sat next to each other and hit it off talking about hunting, and the conversation got a little bit deeper. And what was cool is at the time, last fall, if you remember, Daniel and Doug had started After Hours, and talking with Adam about it. He's been doing a very similar thing with the same mission down with men in his community in Kansas. So that was kind of how the conversation got going. We've stayed in touch. We talked about shooting elk and whitetail, and this morning we got spooked a big bull thanks to a black bear 20 yards away. Adam had his gun on the pistol instead of his D-loop on his bow. But so we've been having fun. So we're going back out hunting, but I was excited to bring him over here, and I was very grateful that he was willing to come talk. So I'll pass it over.
Thank you. Well, man, thank you, Doug, Ryan, for setting this up. Man, I can't thank you guys enough. Not only for tonight and we're coming here and share with you guys a little bit, but also for allowing me to come hunt up on the ranch, which I have no idea what direction. I was given very specific instructions not to tell anybody where this place was. I think it was, south of here? Anyway, beautiful place. Man, this is my favorite state to come to. And I mean that. As a matter of fact, I took my honeymoon here 16 years ago. My wife and I came up out at Moonlight Basin and spent a week here, had a blast, fell in love with this place. 9 months later, had a kid, so we had a really good time. This morning I got up and I was reminded of two things. One, that I need to move up here. If I wasn't so in love with the white-tailed deer at my ranch in Kansas, I think we would be up here chasing elk and enjoying everything you guys have, and the mountains up here we don't get to see a lot of. And two, I was reminded how out of shape I am. And I want to clarify something because I hear this all the time. They say, well, you're an athlete. How are you not in shape? And I want to be very clear here. There's a big difference between an athlete and a baseball player. I promise you. Because if you could get inside the locker room with us before a game, I don't think football players or basketball players are in there eating Kit Kats and playing Texas Hold'em 20 minutes before a game starts. That is every major league clubhouse. So no, we are not athletes. We are baseball players, and I'm gonna go back a little bit and kind of give my brief journey to where I am today. And some of you guys may have heard the story a year or two ago when I left the game. If not, I'll give a quick background on that. But I was lucky. I was raised in the church. I got two Christian parents that are awesome. I didn't think that for a lot of years. But now I've got a 15 and 14-year-old myself, and I literally apologize to my mom once a week for putting her through hell like we did for years. But I was raised in the church, but the reason I went to church in Sunday school and the boring Wednesday night studies that my parents made me do at the house was I had a fear of going to hell. I wanted to be a believer because I didn't want to go to hell. And that was it. And I mean, I carried this on through college, on into pro ball. I soon realized, and you guys can probably relate here, that when I'm in high school in Fort Scott, Kansas, I live in a small town 100 miles south of Kansas City. In high school, I can't wait to get out. Like, yeah, it's fun for a year or two, and then, man, I just want to go to college. That's where it's going to be at. If I could just get to college, get out of the house, do my own thing, I get to college. A year into that, man, I just want to play pro ball. Like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. If I could sign, if I could get signed, start my career, play pro ball, that will bring me true, peace, happiness. Why sign? And you guys, I think you see where this is going. You sign, you get it. Now I want to be in the big leagues. I'm in the minor leagues, making $400 every couple weeks. It was a blast, awesome learning experience, but I mean, literally no money in minor league ball. So naturally, I get to the big leagues. Make it to the big leagues. I need a long-term deal. Yeah, this is great. This is, what I dreamed of since I was a kid, but this isn't. I need more. Sign a contract. It's not good. Then years go by and it's like, man, I just want to retire. Go home, go hunt and fish the rest of my life, live on the ranch, get to come up to places like this. And so it wasn't, I don't know, halfway through my major league career, I started noticing, man, everything all the goals I'm setting are a dead end. Because I'm reaching them. I feel like in my mind, I'm reaching these, and I get there, and it doesn't satisfy. And I get to talk to kids once in a while. I'm like, this works in any profession, but with drugs, alcohol, sex, all these things that bring instant satisfaction, they all lead to a dead end. And I had some awesome mentors, a lot of them teammates, a lot of them chaplains. My dad was one over the years. And through finally soaking up what they had been telling me for years, I started realizing, man, there's got to be something else out there. And again, reminder, I was raised in the church. Like, I knew all the church stories. I could probably go to do a Bible quiz contest and do pretty well. Knew very well who Jesus was and really what he did. But we didn't have any kind of connection. This was all about religion and the do's and don'ts for me, and not going to hell. And man, when I finally handed the keys over, I cannot tell you the freedom that brought, and really just removed the blinders to be able to see other stuff that was going on around me. I got to see, instead of my own selfish come to the field, which, we get to the field about 2:00 for a 7:00 game, and doing my thing and kind of locked in what I needed to do. I started noticing other teammates and other stuff just outside of my world, or my kids, or my family, or my closest friends, and just eyes were open to I guess the fact that it wasn't all about me, and that that there was that there's a God that cared enough. Again, I wasn't a great kid, but I wasn't even a good kid. That cared enough about me and had enough grace to allow me to enter into his presence and ultimately into his kingdom. And when that clicked, don't get me wrong, my desire to win, play baseball, I mean, that stayed. I still absolutely love what I got to do, but to start investing, in other teammates and start kind of taking the focus off of just me and getting mine, and take it off of, of self. And it reminded me, and when Ryan and I were talking about this study, We started one, you may have talked about it a minute ago, but we started one back home. It's been the most awesome ministry. And I love that you guys are coming to this. We do it. I call it beer and burgers. And we bring guys out, and occasionally we'll have a speaker, and we'll do small groups and split up and have some beers and just talk about life. And I say that because for years I was really good at putting the mask on when it was time to go to church. We go to church on Sundays, and a lot of times we do it just because that's what we're supposed to do. Everybody in town, I'm in the Bible Belt. That's just what you do on Sunday. And it's real easy to go through the motion, and we go there and shake hands and God bless you. I'm praying for you. You guys know what I mean. I mean, it kind of feels like, and nothing against the church at all, but it can be fake sometimes. We can be fake sometimes. And the reason I love these, and we call it a life group or life studies, because we just come in here and just talk about life. And this is awesome because we'll have maybe 20 or 30 guys in town, but man, I've seen more lives changed with guys coming in and just opening up one man to another. That's one of the hardest things as a man for us to do. I can't even do it with my wife. It is hard for me to open up with my wife and tell her what I'm really thinking. And I don't know why that. I don't know if I'm stubborn or scared she might think I'm weak or soft. I don't know what it is, but to get in an environment with believers, non-believers, and everywhere in between, and to be able to open up and talk about, just talk about life with other guys. We've seen more guys' lives changed, more marriages saved, relationships with their kids, reunited, rejuvenated. So I say that to keep this up. And there's something about having guys in here and being able to hold each other accountable, and just to keep an eye on each other as we leave here, as we leave church on Sunday and go through our week. It's pretty easy to kind of forget about maybe what was talked about, and we can go through it with other men from experience. And most of you probably know this. It makes it a lot easier. Because I think a lot of times we go to church and then we go throughout the week and go about our life as normal. And so my question is, what are we here for? And I was asked this a few years ago, and I kind of dismissed it. And I could not get it out of my mind. What are we here for? Was I just here to play baseball and raise a family and retire on a ranch and that's it? And then we die and then that's the end of it? No. I believe we're here. And to sum up the Bible, I think it's summed up by saying we're here to love God and love each other, like to simplify it. And I think we're here to spread the word. I think we're here to serve and spread the gospel. I'm also severely ADD, so if I bounce all over the place, you guys just bear with me. Because I'm going to back up. I'm going to back up briefly and talk about leaving the game, which you guys may have not heard anything about it. I retired. I retired 2 years ago with the White Sox, and I'm just kind of I'm not. I don't need to be the center of attention. I don't enjoy being in the spotlight. Although I was put there throughout my career, and it was fine. But I was kind of hoping I could retire and just go back to the ranch and do it as quietly as possible. For those of you that know, that was the ultimate backfire. I ended up leaving the White Sox. We had a situation where, and I won't go into too much detail, but we just had a disagreement. And I felt like I was asked to choose between my family and the team. So I got to come in the next day and talk to the club and spend a little time telling those guys that, I choose my family and I got to go home. And it turned into a pretty big deal. But what made that easy, and I'm glad it was later in my career, is I don't know that I could have made that same decision a few years ago. I feel like I had a little better idea of my priorities in life um, at the time, and that baseball, as much as I loved playing, as much as I loved competing, over the years started falling further and further down that list. I'm proud to say that the Lord and my family started climbing up that list during that time. Um, so I ended up walking away. I ended up walking away from the game. But another big reason, and really the reason I'm here tonight, the reason we all connected was this fight against sex trafficking. And I know that's like curveball out of right field if you guys hadn't heard of our involvement at all in that. But anyway, those two things, between having to choose, between my family and the team, and then this trafficking thing, which a few years ago I couldn't have told you what the word trafficking meant. God kind of placed a few people in my life over the years. I got to go overseas, do a trip, and really see, firsthand what that looked like. Came back to the States and was totally shocked and disappointed to find out how much it goes on here, and not just in these third world countries. Was introduced to Deliver Fund, organization that does some phenomenal work in the counter trafficking world, and then Ryan and Doug, and that's kind of how this whole thing came together. So that is me moving on from baseball. Just to sum that up. And Ryan and I were talking earlier today, and Ryan, you mentioned, religion versus relationship. And I started thinking about that. And that's really something to chew on, because there is a huge difference between religion and relationships. I would say most of my life I was more of a religious guy. I think when I finally surrendered and trusted that God could do some work without me having to be in the middle of all of it and calling all the shots, I think I've slowly, and don't get me wrong, I'm still a total screw up and rely on His grace daily. But when I moved on to understanding what a relationship looked like, and guys, it's not the do's and don'ts. Listen, if you're sitting out there and you're like, man, I'm not ready, and I had so many teammates over the years and so many friends now that they're not ready to ask God into their life and accept Jesus because they like their lifestyle. Man, I'm not ready to quit drinking. I'm not ready to quit partying, to quit smoking, to quit cussing, to quit cheating. Whatever goes on in our mind that we consider sin or we consider a don't in religion. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to stop any of that. None of it. You hand it over. Start this relationship right here and watch what it does to the rest of your life. You guys that have experienced it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've experienced it firsthand. That stuff takes care of itself. The closer we get here, the better my marriage got. And I'm not sitting here saying that everything's going to get better if you give your life to Christ. As a matter of fact, a lot of times it may get harder. But if it's this fear of, man, I've screwed up too much in my life, there's no way I can walk into that church building. There was no way I can walk into this warehouse. There's no way I can accept, that Bible and accept His promise. Then I'm telling you, He will accept any one of us, anywhere we're at, in any situation, and do it with open arms. And it's pretty nice to not have to go through life by yourself. Whether it's family member sick, family member dies, lost our job, lost our whatever it is, to know that we're here for a much bigger mission than just us. And to know that when this is over, whether we believe in it or not, we're all going to have to stand before the King, right? And be accountable for what we did with this very short time he gave us. Um, you know, I'm just thinking back, and to be totally honest with you guys, I don't know if it's every year around hunting season because I'm so obsessed with hunting. But I feel like I'm really good at slipping away from this relationship. And I'll look up at times and I'll be like, man, that's a really distant God. Thinking like he's moved further away from me. And I promise you, he's right here. I'm moving further away from him. And one thing, if you're hesitant, or if you're wondering what that looks like, or if you're the guy like I was and still am that goes to church every Sunday, and then Monday afternoon, I couldn't tell you what they talked about on Sunday, and I'm right back in my worldly ways of being on my own agenda. I will say that if we can get in the habit of doing stuff like this and have other men that we can actually talk to, and not just the 2 cent conversation of who won the games last night and what the kids are up to, but I mean really get deep with other men and open up about life. We'll start growing there. And for me, that distant relationship starts shrinking. And I can see things differently. I enjoy being up in the mountains here in Montana. I see his creation differently. I don't know. It really is the ultimate freedom. And I don't say this bragging at all, because most of you probably don't have a clue who I am, and I love that, because I wasn't even that good at baseball. I just tricked them for long enough to keep a job for a while. But I can say I got to the top of my profession, the top. Like as a kid, that's what I dreamed of, the big leagues, and it ain't it. I thought that was going to be like the greatest thing that ever happened, and it's not. And you guys that have reached the top of whatever you're after, I think will say the same thing. I think I read Tom Brady somewhere won his 100th Super Bowl or something, and was like, man, is that it? That was his quote. It was like, is this it? And I feel him. It doesn't matter what we do on earth, because as followers, this really ain't our home. We're passing through here, and our job is to make other disciples, spread the gospel. A lot of times we can do it without saying a word. Speaking of that, do we have a minute? I have no idea if I've been here 5 minutes or an hour. I want to talk about just kids just for a second. I'm assuming a bunch of you guys have kids. And I'll say when we're talking about priorities, one thing with my kids, and I fell into it so many times. I put so much emphasis on whether it's their grades, what they're doing around the house, anything else outside of their actual the values and morals and their character. And one thing I've learned is that if little Johnny comes home and he gets grounded for a week because he had a D, then he comes home, or he talks back to his mom, or maybe he told a little lie in class or stole something, and he gets sent to his room for an hour. What is that telling them that our priority is? Because we can tell them whatever we want. We can say this is the most important thing in our life. God's the most important thing in our life. You tell them the truth. You not lying. You not talking back to your mom. But are we showing them that? And this is really, I listened to a sermon not too long ago, and that's why this is kind of on top of my mind. I was thinking about just my own kids, our priorities, and how that's portrayed to our kids. Because I don't think they're going to remember a whole lot of what we tell them, but I promise you they're going to remember how we made them feel and what we did. I can't remember crap that my dad told me, nothing. But I remember a lot of incidents, things I saw him do, both good and bad, that I'll never forget. And I've got kids, I've got two high schoolers. My days are numbered and getting to really, the opportunity to impact their life. And it's a little bit scary knowing that there's 2 or 3 years left. But I also know that the way I act, the way I treat other people, and what my priorities are, truly, not just what I'm saying, but what they're seeing, is going to have way more impact, than anything I could ever say. I have no idea where I was at or where that came from. What was I talking about? Anybody? Huh? Yeah, it's sorry. Priorities. Yeah, talking about just being at the top, and that not satisfying. Do you want to do any questions, or is there any? I'm sure I left out a ton.
So you're the only guy I ever read on Wikipedia where it actually says you actually do have history with ADHD, right? I mean, it's been a part of your life.
Yeah, I think I just proved that tonight. So no need to be diagnosed. Yes, it was probably, see, in 2003, I think. I did just a boneheaded play on the field. It's embarrassing to even tell you guys what happened. I was playing with the Atlanta Braves, and Bobby Cox is my manager. If you guys know Bobby, he calls me into his office and, "What the F are you doing, Laroche?" I still don't even think he knows my first name. I played for him for 4 years. Bobby, I don't know. He said, "Can we get you checked out?" Literally the next day, he had a shrink or psychologist, whatever, that come into the clubhouse, and yeah, you're on medication like a week later. So ADD, been very public about it. Been able to speak a little bit on it. But the beauty is I have a real short-term memory too. So those 0 for 20 stretches with like 15 punch outs, I could forget about real quick.
So that's good. Well, I want to ask you a couple questions on, and then we'll open up for Q&A. Tell us about your relationship with your wife during your years in the big leagues, and how did you? Because I think a lot of these guys, they're not in the big leagues, but they're in the big league simply by the work schedule they keep, and they're on airplanes all the time, or they're working long hours around here, and then they've got this responsibility to family. And how did you keep your love life with your wife current and vibrant, and how did you keep your family together with all the pressures of your career?
Yeah, I think the divorce. I don't know what the divorce rate in our country is. I'm sure it's crazy high. I think in baseball, I think in sports, it's 80% or 85%. So it's pretty typical to not have a lasting marriage in pro sports. I knew that. My dad played. Matter of fact, my dad played for a career, and both of my brothers played pro ball. So all four of us. And I say that because we weren't smart enough to do anything else. I really believe that was kind of the family thing, was baseball or baseball. But I got to learn from my parents, because my dad had the same schedule, traveling all over, in and out. They were together probably half the year, a little more than half the year. And I knew the struggles going in, and we just kind of said right away that this will always be way more important than baseball. And if it means me having to quit, which ultimately it did, I ended up quitting for my family. It is a grind. I've got an awesome wife. There plenty of years in there that it was tough, and it would have been real easy to even mention the word divorce, and we just refused to. You know, and would fight through those times and grind through it like any relationship. Um, and I'm glad we did. I wish there was an easy way to answer that question. Different. Couldn't tell you.
Well, it's work. I mean, it's just, I think you did answer it. It's work. And for those of you that are going through tough times at home, you know, it's always work. It's a challenge, and we stay committed. We work through it. We get help, and we grind it out. But it is work, and I totally agree with you. You said that you came to a point where you had to hand over the keys. Yeah.
I'm going to comment on that real quick. If there's anybody out there struggling with a marriage, it's actually probably all of us at one time or another. But if you're in the middle of it, I just read a book recently from Francis Chan, and it was interesting because he said, really respect this guy. He's a pastor out west and out in California. And in this book, and it's a book on marriage, he's like, you know what? When you're struggling with your marriage, forget the marriage. I think he literally said, screw the marriage. Get your relationship right with the Lord and watch what that does for your marriage. And that reminded me of that when you mentioned it, because the first thing I want to do when we get into it is point out her flaws. And I'll do it again in a few days when I go home. I'm sure she'll do it to me. But man, that was so true. It's like get this right here, and then watch what that does to our other relationships. Watch what it does to our relationship with our kids, to our relationship with our friends. Just read that recently, and it definitely rung true.
Right. When you came to that point where you said you had to hand over the keys to Jesus, was that kind of a transition, or was it a moment? And specifically, was there anybody in your life that was influential that really caused you to come to that helped you come to that point where you say, you know, not me anymore, Lord, you can have it all? Was there anybody? Is there people that come to mind at work or privately?
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of teammates, probably too many to name. A lot of guys when I came up that were older than me that were just awesome mentors and great role models. I had a chaplain in DC that opened my eyes to a lot of things that I think were either neglected or I chose not to see. You know, kind of talk about peeling back the layers and taking the mask off and looking into yourself. He was one of the few that would actually challenge me and call me out on if there was something I was saying that my actions weren't backing up. And I really think that was probably, so that would have been probably 2010, maybe 2011, that I started viewing this whole relationship with God thing a whole lot differently. And again, instead of seeing it as, man, if I do all these things, I'm in, and forgetting that it had already been done for me, that there was a man that came a couple thousand years ago, was killed, buried, and rose for all these things that we're saying we shouldn't have done, or all these things that we can't do, or all the things that we're supposed to do in order to enter into his presence. And that's, I think, when the light came on. It's like, man, it's been done. He ain't asking for that much. He's really not. But he is asking for our life, really. Our heart, our life. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great lead into to another question I had. You said earlier that God allowed you the privilege of getting to know him, and especially his grace. And essentially, I think that's what you just said, that did you come to a point where you realized, it's not my good works, I can't earn this thing, it's a free gift, And where did all those lines cross for you when you really understood the grace of Jesus?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that out daily. I think part of the grind with this walk. Um, but talking about grace specifically, I guess I relate it to with my own kids. And as much as I love them, and that book saying that He loves us however many times more than that, I have no problem extending my kids grace. Right? That's our true father. Like really, my dad is just kind of my earthly father. I guess he's kind of put here to raise me, and but our true father as believers, as followers, is the Lord. And when I see it with my own kids, and as bad as they screw up, no matter what the punishment is, or there's always grace, right? We're always going to extend. It may take a while. So when I could start to view God as, man, he's not standing behind me, waiting for me to fall down so He could slap me in the back of the head, right? He's more walking beside us, helping pick us up, maybe before we fall, right after we fall, saying, "You're all right. You're all right. I know it's tough. It's a grind. Maybe work sucks. Maybe some relationship with a family member is bad. Maybe some things happen that it's real easy to blame God for. He gets all that. I really believe He knows that this life is a grind. And I think we can all be really guilty of being so hard on ourselves, saying, man, I was I'm married, checking out that girl on the beach or in that magazine. And like, golly, I slipped up and dropped an F-bomb. Man, I lied to my buddy over here. I did something, and we just can pound on ourselves like, I have no business even praying. I got no business opening that Bible. I got no business going to church. Like, I'm so deep into this. Like, He knows. I promise you guys, He knows. And He's saying, come on. Come on, I got you.
And that is so good, isn't it? I mean, it really gets down to what is our perspective of God, right? Is He there to beat up on us, or is He there to love us? Is He there to push us back and keep us down, or is He there to make a way for us to walk into eternity with Him? That is a great snapshot you just gave us, Adam. Hey, we got some time for a Q&A, and let's, if you have a question, holler it out. We'll repeat the question and spend 5 or 10 minutes on that, and then let Adam off the hook. Anybody got a question? Okay, Tom. The biggest deer you shot? Very deep question, Tom. Thank you.
Man, last year I killed a 190, 191. My biggest deer with a bow last year at the ranch in Kansas. So appreciate you asking that question. We got some more rednecks in here. I like it. Go ahead, bud. Being done with baseball? Well, I get to chase elk in September. And I mean that because I didn't get to do that for a long time. That softened it. Man, I haven't missed it at all. I will say if I would have left 5, 6 years ago, it may have been a different story. I was ready. It was awesome. I loved it. To be totally honest, this trafficking issue came up, and a lot of things kind of fell into place where I knew it was time. I really wanted to dive into this more and spend more time. in that fight. And it's been confirmed over the last year because I haven't missed it at all. I miss the guys on occasion. I miss the flights, the hotel, the camaraderie of being around the guys. I can tell you one of my biggest regrets is not investing in guys' lives more. That's it. I wouldn't have worked any harder. I wouldn't have lifted more. I wouldn't have ran, which I never ran anyways. I was a first baseman. I wouldn't have done anything different other than during a lot of those years not been so selfish and worried about, getting mine, and maybe paid a little more attention to the guy across the clubhouse that maybe may have some marriage problems, may have something going on health wise with a family member where, it becomes real easy in those selfish moments to kind of tune that out. I would want to be more aware of that. Yes. Yes, sir. Yeah, the question was, Christianity growing in sports. Man, I'm trying to think over the years, the size of our studies or our chapels. Um, I would like to think it is, but I can't speak for all sports. There's a pretty neat conference we do every off season for baseball players, and that has definitely grown over the years. The off season, everybody coming into one location, and that's gotten really big. And I don't know. I would say that's what our job is, though. The ones that are followers, strengthen the kingdom. Yes. My kids, you know, I've got unbelievable kids. Like they might not even be mine, and it wouldn't surprise me because I was such an idiot growing up, and my kids have been like, I mean, it's coming, it's going to happen. And it's probably they'll be older, it'll be way more expensive. I'll have to pay for all of it. It's going to suck, but they've been no, they've been good. Yeah, they got a really good mom. Yes. Yeah. Um, no, no, no. I mean, there was so many conversations, and I wish I'd have wrote them down. I do. Again, that's where the ADD kind of what ain't on my side there because my memory. Um, I know one that made an impact that really impacted my life is when I say my life, my professional life, my career was my rookie year, and Jeter gets on for doesn't know I'm nobody. He comes up, puts his arm around me, like, "Welcome to the league, man. Awesome to have you here." And just in small talk there for 3 or 4 minutes. I think it was a pitching change or something. So that's one that impacted me. Honestly, a lot of it was about Hunt. I mean, everybody knew because we've got a show called Buck Commander. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. We've had, I think this is our 10th year. My man Mike Miller's here, my camera guy, and so everybody knew like that was my thing. What was hunting? As a matter of fact, most people knew the reason I played baseball was to fund, my hunting season coming up. So a lot of times it would be hunting related. Um, yeah, there was some interesting ones. I just wish I could remember some of the real funny stuff. Well, I help coach high school ball. So my son's playing. He's in high school now, so I get to do that in the spring. We've got our ranch. We raise cattle in southeast Kansas. Love being out there. Trying to do some things with my kid that I couldn't do when I was playing. Most of our whole summer was you're traveling. We get roughly 1.5 off days a month. So in baseball you play every night. So I missed a ton of games. I missed a ton of their summer vacation stuff. They trying to catch up on that. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, that 190-inch buck that I prayed for. No, I retired. Gosh, I'm gonna try to make this a really quick story. A friend of mine that I hunt with some, he was a pastor when I was a kid. He's in Texas. We literally, he was my pastor when I was a child, and we talk maybe once a year, maybe once a year, once every 2 years. I retired. Nobody knew about it. The media didn't know about it. Nobody did, except the guys in the clubhouse. And I had a message from, his name was Jack Arrington. I had a message from Jack, and I was praying the night before, Lord, is it time for me to go home? Is it time for me to go home, spend more time with the family, get more involved in this fight against human trafficking? So I retire. Naturally, right after that, I'm like, crap, did I just really screw this up? And I get a message from Jack, hey, I had a crazy dream last night. Give me a call. Like, it woke me up in the middle of the night. Give me a call. I call him. And he said, man, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm great. And I just retired. I didn't tell him anything. Well, I had a dream last night that you walked away from the game. But he goes, it's stupid, but it was this was in the middle of spring training, by the way. So we're getting ready to start the season. It's not like it was in the off season when guys typically retire. He said, it was so real. It woke me up, went in the kitchen, made some coffee. His wife came in, like, Jack, what are you doing out of bed? No, I just had a crazy dream about Adam. She's like, Adam who? Adam Laroche. He was walking away from the game, I think I gave him a big hug and walked out on the field and said, hey, this is my last game, something like that. So I say that to say that was a pretty cool little confirmation, from the Lord through a mentor of mine growing up, that it was the right move.
Thank you, Adam. Hey, so what we're going to do is have 6 or 8 minutes of table talk. Just talk about life, and then Adam will come back up and close us out in prayer, and I'll ask for your help on a couple cleanup things. So just chew the fat for a little bit. Talk about life and your career and the ups and downs and handing over the keys and understanding God's grace, whatever it is that's going on in your life right now. Just
Enjoy each other for a while, and then we'll wrap up.
Father, thank you for this opportunity tonight. Thanks for all these men in here. Lord, hopefully something resonated with all of us. Man, thanks for all the people that helped set this up, that fund it, that make it happen every month. I hope this to be just a contagious thing that takes off in and around this town, or that the people that don't typically go to church for whatever reason would come here and come have a beer, open up the Word, and just talk about life and talk about you. We're thankful for even having the opportunity at this gift, Lord, of eternity. And just give us the constant reminder that everything we have here, everything we do, everything we are belongs to you. We love you. Amen. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this resource by Shepherd's Heart Ministries. For more resources, subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook, or sign up for our newsletter. If you're encouraged by these resources and would like to contribute financially, visit us on our website at www.shepherdsheartmin.org. Your generosity will help us seek the lost, strengthen the found, and together shine more brightly for Jesus.